Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the East Whiteland Township September 9, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting. I'll call to order and we will move on with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to
the flag
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start off the meeting underneath item number 2 with board briefings. The board had executive sessions on August 20th at 10 a.m. for real estate and September 9th today at 4:30 for legal, personal, and real estate transactions. Want to point out that we're having our annual bulk trash pickup Wednesday, October 7th through Friday, October 9th. And drop off at the township building will be Saturday between 7 a.m. and 2 o'clock. Just a reminder to everyone that the township cannot accept computers or televisions. Want to let the community know some activity that we've all been involved with for quite some time. And just for a summary of status of it is the Backton Hill Park with the phase 1. Just a short briefing. There's probably many aspects that we could point out, but here is just some bullet points that we put together to bring everyone up to speed in terms of a status at this point in time. The park has been around for about 20 years, and at least 3 concept plans have been in the making. Work has been going on for the last 2 to 3 years in earnest. This work has included a survey of the public, a master planning, grant applications, permit applications, cost estimations, and construction drawings and preparation. Recently, over the last 3 to 4 months, the focus has been on detailed design planning of the playground. It's been a real team effort with a number of entities, with the public, supervisors. Park and Rec Board has done a tremendous job and put a lot of time in there. Malvern Moms Club has been involved, and staff has been also heavily involved at this point in time. We've had some delays and we had hoped to be further down the road, but due to COVID-19 and some permit issues, we've got backlogged somewhat, but we're not too far behind our targeted goals. And the current schedule is to finalize a design and construction documents this fall, early winter. Bid the work over the winter, award the bid in 2021, and hopefully break ground by April or March of 2021. Next on the agenda is number 4, board motions and resolutions. And a motion to advertise. First item up, I'll ask Joe McGrory to discuss the aspect of the resolution for the map amendment for the Knickerbocker tract.
Yes, we received a petition from the equitable owner of the Knickerbocker tract requesting that it be changed to a different zoning district that would allow the development that he's proposing. Jason, are you on the phone at all? Or
he's not, but I'm going to let him in right now. give Jason a second to connect here. Jason, are you able to hear us?
I'm able to hear you, Zach. Are you able to hear me?
Able to hear you, but not see you at the moment. Yeah.
Jason, can you outline for the board what you are proposing at the Knickerbocker Tract and why?
I certainly can. I think let me start with what we're proposing. We are proposing a residential community at the Knickerbocker Tract that comprises of about 280 for-sale homes, which would be focused on a 55 and older product. And I think that pretty much summarizes exactly what we'd like to do.
And what is what can be built there by right under current zoning?
So, I think that's the best question because at the moment, we can put warehouse distribution, e-commerce on this site. I can tell you that we have been almost circumvented in this process, whereas a lot of the existing e-commerce institutionally owned development companies have expressed a serious interest in the site. And I think much of this has been fast forwarded since March of this year, when there's been a light that has been shown on the breakdown in our overall logistical supply chain and the overwhelming demand and change in behavior, whereas so much of the shopping and consuming has occurred, from home. And I'd like to go on about what the world of e-commerce looks like right now, if that's okay, because I think it's an important, intelligent discussion as it relates to this site. And I will tell you that if it is not us right now, it is going to be someone else, and I'm confident of that. As a matter of fact, it's disturbing to me because it interferes with the direction that we want to take this site into, and I think our approach is the most responsible that there can be. So, e-commerce, for people who are not familiar with it, we can point to a lot of examples, even in our area, and most people are not aware, but Amazon has several small over-congested fulfillment facilities right now, one of which happens to be in King of Prussia off of First Avenue. And I've taken it upon myself to make sure not only have I set eyes on that fulfillment facility, which operates as a last mile logistics facility, in order to service anyone in our surrounding community with same day delivery and last mile logistic delivery. The way that facility operates right now is the number of Sprinter vans that line up around First Avenue streaming through King of Prussia looks like a series of ants climbing into an anthole. And for any of the existing office parks that are empty right now, they're being rented, the parking lots are being rented and used as staging areas. I've seen it firsthand. I'd encourage anybody else to go take a look. But the other problem with the e-commerce, if it were to proceed at the Knickerbocker site, it has serious impacts to the surrounding area. Number one, the environmental impacts of the additional traffic on the roads. With the amount of e-commerce that can be developed on this site, there would be on average about 1,000 Sprinter vans a day coming in and out of the site, in addition to the tractor trailers that supply the product that's required to keep in stock. The view shed would be significantly impacted from all angles. The facilities that are being built today are modern facilities, of which can be upwards of 40 feet tall. 30, 35 feet are acceptable, but the ideal is about 40 feet tall. Light pollution. These facilities operate on a 24-hour basis. The amount of light pollution that would be created by having these facilities on this site would terribly affect the view shed of everybody in the area. And all these things are by right currently. It's certainly not our intent, which is why we propose the rezoning of the Knickerbocker site. And I think there's certainly probably some concerns about what risks there are for the township in order to do that. And when we're looking for ways to mitigate those risks, but hopefully that answered some of the questions as it relates to, this proposal. So, or petition for that matter.
Does the board have any questions for Jason?
Does the plan that was submitted as part of the petition, that has changed a bit? There's a different one that was just provided?
The plan that you should see has included and added additional detail to help describe and understand what could be as a result of a rezoning. So it includes better descriptions of some of the details related to the open space, the trails, the location of and where we located those homes. And I'm sure you're looking at the plan, I hope. But we pulled all of those homes we had originally looked at many, many months ago away from Oak Glen. So none of the homes would go up back on the back of Oak Glen. We listened to what people said, despite what's out there. Mill Lane would be emergency access only. So in other words, only emergency access vehicles in the case of an emergency, would be able to access that, whether a fire truck, whether, police or ambulance for that matter. So there would not be cars or residents coming in and out of Mill Lane. The other major question that came up was, what about the school district? Well, we took that to heart. We studied our market. We tried to find a better product, a better use. And I think by providing a 55 and older product there, it eliminates some of the concerns as it relates to any additional pressures on the school district.
When you say 55 and older, it's how it's physically built. You think the user would be 55 and older, or you propose a restricted 55 and older community?
So if you're looking at what you see on the plan there, area A, that would be a restricted 55 and older.
Okay.
The area up near where the former driving range was, which was area B, we think that would be a better age targeted. So it would be a same or similar product. And based on their separation, I've got to imagine, there probably are some people out there who feel that all 55 and older, you don't want to see a full retirement community, but you want to have product that's age targeted for folks too, that want to be in a similar area, sharing similar amenities.
The intention of this is the goal anyway, to get approved and then have a known builder come in to build these things?
So our intent with this would be, and what are you saying there, Mr. Orlello? Would we personally build these?
Yes. Would you be the builder?
So our firm oversees the development and approval process. So in order to execute a plan like this, we may look to a partnership with another national organization.
Right. Okay.
But we would be involved.
Does the board want age restricted? I know there's been some discussion about whether or not you want that. What's the direction of the board in that regard?
I have always said that I prefer to have family-oriented communities in this township. I know that raises some concerns with some people on the burden on the school district. But just in terms of the vibrancy, I like to have children in the township, and I like to have families. I'm concerned about having 55 plus to this level, because it's not 55 plus. If you look at Hershey's Mill, for example, which is 55 plus, it's a lot older than that. Just something to think about.
Yeah, my thinking, it has pluses and minuses. You know, the plus of restricting is for the benefit of the school district. It's all taxes and no kids. But the negative for the township is there's probably less working people still, which means less earned income tax. So it's a trade-off. I think at the end of the day, I think the market will dictate, like any development, whether there's a demand.
Can I ask about open space? I know you're leaving a lot of this unbuilt, and I'm wondering, first of all, do you have an idea of what percentage of the land or number of acres it's left open? And secondly, would this area have to be left open if it was developed as warehouses and distribution centers?
Sue, I'm going to do my best to answer that question, but if you don't mind, I'd like to go
Speak
back.
into your microphone because you're pretty faint right now.
Can you hear me okay?
That's good.
That's better.
Okay. I'm going to try not to lean too far into my computer so everyone's looking at an odd part of my face. So if you can hear me well, Rich brought up a point about the earned income tax and a portion of the site, not all of the site, but a portion of the site being age restricted. One of the important things about this age restricted 55 and older portion of the project is its ability to continue to support the amenities in the surrounding area that the existing community is able to enjoy. So for those who don't know, we are the developer who developed the Grove, which was the former Shops at Liberty. And when the offices are not in, right, and whether it's our location that we currently own or other locations, that 55 and older community has expendable income that they are going to spend in the area. They're also going to have a demand for additional services, not just emergency services, but other services that'll help support better amenities and better retail in the area, and therefore create a variety of options for the existing community. So it just attracts better services, better amenities.
So you're saying you've got people with money and time on their hands, basically.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what.
Okay.
And I think that's what strikes that balance. And then Sue, to get to your question, you asked us about open space. When it comes to e-commerce, you know, I'm afraid to say that there's probably a good potential that if we may not be the person involved in that. For many reasons, which we don't have to go into on this call. And the reality is that whoever that developer is going to look to maximize every inch of what they can fit on an FAR, basically as many square feet as they can fit on the site as possible. And they're going to use every tool in their tool belt to make sure that happens. And having, you know, with it being currently zoned that way, you know, that would be the intent. So do I see the open space being there after this? The answer is absolutely not. It's just not the way, it is not the way my world works.
Do you know if they can build on the old
yes, on the
site?
landfill? They can build on the landfill. Happens all over the country.
Okay.
Use process
That's what I
called
thought.
helical piles and what have you. Yes.
Jason, can you tell me in terms of area A and area B, the difference between the number of bedroom units, the size of the units between the two properties, if there is a differential?
So on the ones that you're looking at, let me just make sure I have the plan in front of me. I see that you have it up there, and I just want to make sure I've got a clearer version on here. So the dimensions of the units will vary based on where they're located within the stack, as they call it. So whether they're the end or whether they are whether they are in the middle. And in this plan, as I'm pulling it up here, so in the area B units, they're very generously sized units. Okay, you're looking at a 30-foot wide unit. So they're not these narrow, crammed in, architecturally unappealing units that you see in other locations where they're, in that, with that, 20-ish foot wide units. So the floor plan and the appeal is going to be just more living space. Typically, you see these things being no less than 3 bedrooms, but they do have the ability to have up to 4.
So 3 to 4 bedrooms in area B.
That's correct.
In area A?
In area, you're going to find the same thing in area A with the 30 to 32 foot wide units and the 72 foot deep. So 70 to 72 foot deep is very deep. So the area B units are going to be a little bit smaller in the fact that they're 60. You have 53 foot depth, in those. And I know we're taking a hard look at this plan with the additional detail that's on here. This plan is going to, if it were to proceed, would be highly scrutinized at the planning commission phase of the land development process.
These sound like pretty big units. You're going to be priced fairly high, or you don't know that yet?
In terms of what, Sue, what do you mean by high? That's an adjective that I struggle
Lots
with.
more than my house is worth.
Yeah. They're going to be market rate. So
Okay.
whatever the market will bear. And, given the product that's out there and available, I think this is a newer product, and I think it's appealing to somewhat of a different buyer. And, I think the appeal is a convenient and up-to-date new product with low maintenance that requires, little to no, physical labor by the person living there. So people who are not interested in cutting their lawns and things like that.
Jason, a number of people have asked me about the keeping tree lines behind development area A on the north side. Can you comment on that?
Well, like I said, if you look to the left of area A, where Oak Glen is, our original plan showed houses all along the back of Oak Glen. This plan shows no houses all along the back of Oak Glen. And we're leaving nearly, I want to say, on the open space side, there's so little trees that we're touching, in the area that we're planning in is already, where you have to the right of area A is a grass ball field at this point. So I think any disturbance of any trees in area A is not affecting anybody. So the majority of area A is an excavated existing area at the moment. There's very few trees in those areas already.
At one point in time, there was some discussion of having park-like facilities or soccer fields have been mentioned on the landfill site.
Never going to happen.
Can you tell us what happened with those?
It's just never going to happen.
Why?
The requirements to put soccer fields up on that site at this point in time like I said, there's no one who's going to participate in that without, without existing lights. So you would be looking at putting, lighted fields up there, and without a zoning ordinance in place to achieve that in some way, shape, or form. Quite frank, and speaking freely, Scott, I watched what occurred when there was an attempt for Great Valley Little League to bring lights to a sports field, and it was, the community doesn't want it, and we're trying to do the best we can to bring something to the table that's as least controversial as possible, and that seemed to be just very toxic. So I just don't see how that could ever happen. But the open space and the walking trails, that's very functional. That's something that we have on that portion of the land. And, that's something I think that is actually realistic and achievable at this point.
And it may not be readily available to the site because of the small size here, but there is a community residential parking lot area, correct, that would allow people to drive to and then utilize the trails?
That's correct. We are showing that. We are showing that on the plan.
So this open space and the trail along Valley Creek that you're proposing to put in will be open to the public from, perpetually?
Don't have access to it, correct?
Okay.
Will there be, I guess this is something that we would have to end up talking about, but on the northwest portion behind Oakland, that would be permanently zoned as an open space to prevent any type of further development?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So I think there's some things we can offer that would mitigate risk for the rezoning. And I think one of those things that we thought about, my partners and I, is that we would be willing to restrict the site for the number of units that we can put on the site. So I think that would quell concerns about changing the zoning to RMH and the concern that there's going to be more units than have been presented tonight. I think that's number one. Number two, I think the other thing that we can do is put a restriction on the remaining land that is undeveloped to remain undeveloped as it is today. So I think those are some things we can do as a part of our willingness to mitigate some of the risks or concerns that anyone would have as it relates to changing the zoning on this plan. That's something we could certainly do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
And you're talking in terms of a covenant running with the land, right, Jason?
That's correct. It would run with the land. So even if we were
keep in mind, it's got to be signed by the legal owner of the property before the zoning gets passed.
I understand
So
that.
have you been in conversation with the current legal owner?
We're in conversation regularly.
Okay.
So you would
All
have
right,
two
the board have
points of
any other-
access? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go
I
ahead,
was
Sue.
just going to ask if you had other questions.
I was just going to say, you cannot access Mill Lane, but you will have access at two different points, out where the driving range is now and in through the corporate center. Is that the other access point?
That's correct. Those are the two current existing access points that are available.
But nothing
Is
on
the
Mill
access-
Lane?
Nothing on Mill Lane. No automobile traffic from the site will go out onto Mill Lane.
Okay.
It-
Thank you.
It would be emergency access only, whereas there would be what's called a fire gate, that the only people with the key to the gate would be police and fire.
Okay.
And through the corporate center, Jason, are they public streets?
They are part of the Great Valley Owners Association. Portions of them, it comes out onto public arteries, but we do have current access rights there presently.
Okay, can you send me those access rights?
Sure.
Jason, going back onto the northwest track, it would seem as though that zoning it to an open space rather than the restriction would be more conducive to remaining open space.
Now, actually, Scott, it would not be as good as a covenant. A
Not-
covenant runs with the land in perpetuity,
Okay,
and I can make it enforceable by both the township and the adjoining landowners. Versus a rezoning can always be changed by the township depending upon what board's in office. So if you really want to protect the open space, you're more protected with a covenant.
okay, good point. Thank you for the clarification.
The board have any other questions?
Yeah, I don't have any other questions. I still do need to look at, fairly recently, there were reviews of this sketch plan done by township consultants. I haven't had a chance to look at those yet, so we'll be looking at those pretty closely.
Yes, and it's
Do you
quite.
want, Scott, do you want to have a motion and then open up for public comment, or do you want to hear public comment now before a motion?
If I could say one more thing before anyone else makes motions, if you don't mind. This plan will, and for those who are not doing this on a regular basis, the process by which this plan will be scrutinized during the land development process is far exceeding than anything else that could be considered between today and tomorrow and the next few weeks. Because the information you have here that's available, this is the last and only plan I am submitting for any consideration, only because there's only so much time. And I'm being honest, nothing more than that. You know, I think this township needs to act, because behind me and the pressure behind me is 1,000% existing e-commerce industrial developers who have all the money at their feet right now looking to build out. The country is short 3 billion square feet of e-commerce. And I'm ready for public comment on that one, because this is my business. This is what I do. And I don't mean to be rude. I just mean to be direct. You know, we're certainly ready for the scrutiny during the land development process, by which the 50 sheets of plans will be provided and all the detail will be provided. You know, we have laid out that we will mitigate the risk for, willingly mitigate the risk for density. And, you know, we're part of the community too, you know, and I think the board should support this. And I just want to get my last 2 cents in on that. So I appreciate your patience with me and letting me speak.
Okay. Why don't we then, if it's okay with everyone else, if there's no more questions from the board and Joe, why don't we open up to public comment before we proceed any further as a board?
Okay, so we have several comments, so I'll just read through them. Doug Atlas states that he's a long-term resident of East Whiteland. The amount of development has really accelerated in the past few years. The schools and infrastructure are at their limits. I think that allowing another large development in Knickerbocker Tract is going to harm our quality of life. The land is not zoned residential, and I'm offended that the developer is not even going through the usual channels of going through the zoning committee. That was from, I think I said Douglas Atlas. Then Marshal Huffritz has several comments, and he says that this is the first time that they're hearing about 55 and older community and the potentially 50% of the land undeveloped. Is it possible to request a change in zoning as to planned undeveloped parcels of land as open space? Then he says, Marshall also says that him and his wife support the following items. Homes moved away from Oakland Drive, residential areas being over 55. We like this versus younger families. Using Mill Lane only as an emergency access road. Thank you. And then, let's see. Barbara Ann Thav says Mr. Dempsey's proposal for 55 and over community at Knickerbocker site would need to have single floor house living, not just condo apartments and not 2 stories if approved, as East Whiteland does not have much of this to be available to age in place and stay in East Whiteland Township. 3 and 4 bedrooms does not sound like single floor living. It is disappointing to hear that some of the supervisors do not support age residents continuing to live in our community because of the potential for less tax collection and other reasons indicated. Where does the environmental board stand with being able to build housing on a former dump? Resident access to the trails, including the parking lot mentioned in Mr. Dempsey's proposal, needs to be writing in the documents so that there is no future issue with this. Future homeowners will be happy about this, especially if they're paying HOA fees. Willingness to limit the development in order to rezone would also need to be put in writing. Please protect the open space. Martin Lutz, one more, sorry. Martin Lutz says, when will the plan be made available to the public? And that's
It's
it.
available now.
And the plan has been uploaded to the township website. There's a specific page for the Knickerbocker tract.
That's it for the public comments at this point.
All right, thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
There was a question in that first letter that I think we can answer. What was the first one?
The Doug Atlas.
Yeah. What did he ask? He asked something that we can answer.
Planning, going through the process.
What do you mean planning?
I think he mentioned that he didn't think Jason Dempsey was having to go through the planning
Land
process.
development? Oh, it'll all have to go through extensive land development.
Well, but this will still be before the planning commission,
That's correct.
right? And this will still be reviewed, has been reviewed by township consultants, and we will have the benefit of all that. So, no, it's not fully engineered, but, you know, this still needs to be looked at, and it will.
I can say there's 4 pages of engineering comments that have been already penned based on some of the preliminary information that's been coming in. So it has been reviewed and will continue to be reviewed.
If what you're voting on tonight, if you choose to, is just to advertise the ordinance so it can be considered in October.
Okay.
Or thereafter.
Well, the hearing would be October, and you would have the ability to pass it in October, but you can always postpone that to any date you're more comfortable.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think we should at least advertise it and start the serious discussion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Sue, would you like to make a motion to advertise?
Yeah, I will make a motion to advertise a zoning map amendment for the Knickerbocker tract from OBP to and R1 to RMH.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda is also a motion to advertise. Just briefly, Zach, you can maybe just add 1 or 2 comments. I think this is pertaining to the definition of a medical clinic and just allows a longer period of time, I think, for a patient to remain in the facility.
That's correct. We updated a couple of our definitions last year to include some of these newer style medical uses. This would amend one of those definitions just to allow a longer stay for post-surgery for some of these outpatient surgery centers, so that people could stay and do physical rehabilitation, therapy, et cetera, associated with that procedure. Would allow up to a 72-hour stay. So still somewhere in the middle between a doctor's office and a hospital, very much in this, limited impact hospital or medical type use.
Well, the way medicine is changing and treatment is changing, we're going to have to be continually updating these things to cover all the ways people get healthcare these days. I don't know what's magic about 72, but I'm certainly willing to advertise it.
Right. We've heard some interest in these types of uses from the outside, from people in the business. And so we just wanted to make sure that our ordinances allow for these types of things, which we think are good use, particularly in Lancaster Avenue.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Rich, I guess you'd be up to make a motion?
Yeah, no, I'll make the motion, but as Zach, you're saying part of the reason that led to this change in definition was in response to requests from potential users?
We have heard from several medical outfits that are looking to do these types of facilities. One in specific does require a longer stay, or that's their model. They have sort of the medical side of things, and then sort of what I'll call a luxury recovery wing within that same complex. And so this is kind of with that in mind, but not directly, I wouldn't say, but would be something that allows those types of facilities.
This can be a range of sizes, I guess, a building like this.
Right. Yeah. So really, this is where this is permitted is within the FC district, which is most of Lancaster Avenue in Fraser, and within sort of the regionally oriented commercial. So places that these types of things are already more or less happening. Just trying to recognize that for people seeking them, that they can do them here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make the motion to advertise the zoning ordinance amending the definition of medical clinic.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't hear anything. I'm sorry.
Oh, aye?
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Thought it was my internet connection. Still up on the hot seat is Zach, pertaining to our ongoing project spearheaded by the Historical Commission and the Gunkel Mill project.
Sure.
Jack.
So at last month's meeting, the board authorized some work by Arrow to prepare design documents for a retaining wall and new support pier that would ultimately house the water wheel that's being manufactured as we speak. And so this is seeking an authorization to actually put that work out to bid and hopefully get started later this year.
So this is for an RFP for the work?
Yeah, this is a request for bids.
Request for bids, okay. All right.
Yep.
Sue, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to advertise for bids on the Gunkel Mill Water Wheel Project to do a retaining wall and a concrete pier.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we bring in John Neild to maybe give a short recap pertaining to the decommissioning of the Malvern Hunt waste water plant.
Yes, this is asking for permission to advertise the minor revision to the Act 537 plan. So it will put the module out on the website and at the township building for the public to review and comment on. It's a 30-day comment period. We answer the comments and then we're ready to submit to the DEP.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
We're finally going to get rid of the ponds over there by Malvern Hunt, huh?
It's getting closer every day.
All right, great. Rich, you should do this one, really.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. Okay. Yeah, I'll make the motion to advertise the minor Act 537 update to the sewage facilities planning module to decommission Malvern Hunt wastewater treatment plant.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next on the agenda is 4B. This is, last month, we made an appointment for Mark Kelbob to the Historical Commission. And this is a motion to clarify his term ending date being January 2025.
I'll make a motion to set the term of Mark Kilbaugh in the Historical Commission from now through January 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Scott, is the board prepared to have some discussion over any ordinances that you want regarding some of these volunteer committees?
I mean, not yet. I think the appropriate time, I started looking at the, there's only 2 commissions that aren't really dictated by the MPC, right, Joe? And that's historical and environmental. The zoning and planning, they're dictated under the MPC, right?
They're dictated under the MPC. You also have Park and Rec, and the only real mandate for Park and Rec is that it be no more than 7 members.
Right. Yeah, I know we've had discussion on trying to make the terms and approach, well, terms and size of commissions consistent. And I think I still need to do a little work on that.
I think consistency for those 3 would be a good thing to do. Let's put that up for October if we can get it done.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can get a draft put
Well,
together.
I don't know what the draft, I don't know what the board's direction is yet. There's nothing for me to draft.
Rich and I can work on that.
Yeah, I started looking at it. We'll put it in line.
Okay.
Okay. Next is to, I guess this is pretty simple. John Nagel to ratify a job offer for Ashley Marchetti.
That's correct. Ashley's already started. We're just playing a little bit of catch up from board approval standpoint. There's a conditional job offer. There was a vacancy in the part-time firefighter EMT pool, and Ashley will be filling that.
Okay. Rich, would you like to take this one?
Sure. I'll make a motion to ratify the job offer to part-time firefighter and emergency EMT.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda, Donna, to alert you that we're coming to where you may open it up to one of our residents.
Yes, I have Devin's connecting now. Mr. Chipman's from Whiteshell.
What we're going to do is we're listen to comments for an item that's on the agenda pertaining to canvassing ban that we passed last month.
Mr. Chipman, are you there?
Okay, I'm here. Can you guys hear me all right?
We can
Yes.
hear you. Hi,
Okay,
Devin.
perfect. Well, hey, thank you. I appreciate you letting me join to talk about this. Yeah, and I guess in case if anybody missed it or last month I know. So we had, I guess, just to bring up everybody to speed, we had applied for solicitation permits. So I'm with Whitetail Disposal. We are a trash company up out of Perkiomenville. We are so we service well, basically all several of the counties up north of Chester, and we're expanding down into Chester. And it's something we've been really excited for. We've had this planned for over a year. I know COVID kind of delayed a lot of things for us. But then, so we brought in a whole bunch of college students to go door to door. And we had applied for permits in East Whiteland, and we received them. And then after about a day and a half of knocking, they were pulled. And we were originally told that it was because some sales reps were seen or that it was reported they were not wearing the masks. And then I know, and Chief Eager, he came back and he said, actually, it turned out that no, that wasn't true, that we didn't, or well, we did have everybody wearing masks. But there was just multiple complaints. So, and you guys had voted to have the permits, I guess, permanently pulled, or or put on hold until after COVID. So, what I just wanted to talk about it and see what we could do. I guess first off, I want to say that we recognize that soliciting door to door, it's not popular. It's not. I mean, I'm the one who manages these college students that come in, and I myself, when somebody knocks on my door, I'm not ecstatic to talk to the door-to-door salesperson. I don't think any of us are. But I guess one of the things I know that was brought up last week when you guys were talking about it was, why do we need to go door to door? Why not just send out flyers this year? And I think, so I would just like to briefly explain that, just because that is very important to our business model. One of the things in trash is it's important to have, you want density. We don't want to be driving far between our stops. When we are able to do that, it allows us to have cheaper pricing because, we're not driving, we're not spending a lot of fuel, driving from place to place. And so we've developed our whole business model. We've been doing this since 2016, is having college students go door to door and solicit business. And it's been extremely, extremely successful for us. We've grown immensely over the last few years, and so the density is just, it's very important to us. And so the flyer thing, I can understand from outside looking in how that might seem like an effective way, but typically when we flyer, it's just something in the trash world is that most people, it's easier to call up your own company and get them to price match. Even though, they weren't willing to give you a cheaper price before, but now all of a sudden the competition is willing to lower their price when another company's coming in offering cheaper prices. So that's one of the reasons we don't flyers. Honestly, and I think any trash company if you asked any trash company, they would tell you that flyering does not get, you don't pick up a lot of business from flyering. Usually what happens is the competition just ends up matching your price, and then you get some sales just, spotted all over the township, which then isn't very effective. It's hard to keep our prices low if that's how it is. So, but I guess the thing I wanted to tell you all, I wanted to make sure is clear, is that, it's very, very important for us to be compliant. And we recognize that this is a hard time with COVID-19 going on. And that's why when we did apply for the permits, we specifically, we weren't asked to do this, but we turned in a paper. It's our protocol for our sales reps on how they are supposed to act on the doors. And it goes through things, stepping back, like from the time they ring the doorbell, we want them back about 10 feet from when somebody answers the door. They need to have a mask on. We don't want them going up closer than 10 feet unless the person wants them to come closer, because they carry tablets. Sometimes the person wants to see the tablet. So, and it's all outlined in this protocol list. And that's it's very, very important to our sales reps to follow this. If they do not, we won't let them work for us anymore. We'll terminate their job, because we understand that this is very, very important. And honestly, we don't want to be liable for anything, any problems or anything, with COVID-19. So, it is very, very important for us to be compliant, and we want you to know, we're willing to work with you guys. If you guys some townships have rules where, it's like, well, I guess we could easily say, obviously we wouldn't be knocking doors with no soliciting signs. So what I was going to say is some townships have people who don't want to be contacted, they have a list that they can contact the township, and they put together a list of homes that are like do not contacts, even if they don't have a no soliciting sign on the door. And I mean, we'd be willing to do that when we're willing to work. We want a good relationship with you guys. We want a good relationship with the township. Yeah, but we do recognize that it is kind of soliciting is kind of an awkward thing, and not people don't love it, but it is, I guess, and coming back to that is, it is very important for our college students. Something that we very much train them on is, you don't make sales by being a pushy salesman. You make sales by being friendly. And I don't know if any of you guys had in those 2 days, if any of you had one of the people come to your door, I would be willing to bet that I think most people say that our sales reps, I'd say the high majority of people say that our sales reps are very, very friendly people. And I think if any of you met them, you would feel like they're very friendly. We're picky about who comes out and works for us. So,
Devin,
yeah.
Could you tell me how many college student sales reps you have hired soliciting at this point in time?
Yeah, so we had, we only had 10 apply to your township. We actually had a little over 20 sales reps come out for us this year. So we did not have all of them apply to your township. At the same time, like we currently have permits in Tredyffrin. We had permits in Schuylkill. So they've already done that. So we had a lot of the permits around you guys, and that's where we had some of the other college students.
So 10 to 20 students.
10 we applied for in your township. We were only going to send 10 into your township. Now, and I should address that. Most of them have headed home. They've gone back to college, head off to college. So they are gone now. We only have, I think there's 7 of them left now. And so we were planning on putting about, I think there'd be 5 that had permits that are still here that had permits to East Whiteland that we would like to, if you guys would allow us, we'd like to let them go through there.
How often do you test your college students for COVID?
Yeah, we actually have, we check their temperatures each morning. So, testing them for COVID, we haven't actually, it's been a little while since we've actually tested them each for COVID, but we have each morning before they're able to go out to work, we check their temperatures, and we have all of that recorded. So we still have not had a single one of them have COVID. But we'd be willing, if that's something that you guys would want as proof that they've been tested for COVID before they go in, that we'd be willing to do something like that.
Well, the temperature is probably even more important than the test, because you get tested one day and catch it the next day. The temperature is a better parameter.
Yeah. So we have been doing that.
What other townships are you soliciting in now, if any, close to East Whiteland?
Right now, the college students that are left are all in Tredyffrin. So they're all in Tredyffrin. We've finished up what we were doing in Schuylkill. I'd have to look at the map to see, the townships around you. I know we had a lot of East Coventry, North Coventry. I'd have to look at the map, but a lot of the townships around you guys, we've already done, but they're in Tredyffrin right now.
And going forward in East Whiteland Township, how many solicitors would be representing you in the next 30 to 45 days?
I would plan on just 5. Just 5 would be just 5.
I don't really have a problem with it. People go door to door. There's a lot of people that are allowed to go door to door that are not under this restriction that for-profit companies are. For example, census, politics. I don't think either the Republicans or Democrats are going door to door this year, but they could. There's nothing to prevent them from doing it. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I know I used to do door to door as a Girl Scout. I don't know if they do that much anymore, but if I don't want to talk to somebody at the front door, I don't answer the door. I don't find it particularly threatening to have a door-to-door salesman come around once in a while. So that's just my opinion. If they were wearing their masks, as we found out, it doesn't bother me a lot.
And your policy is to require the people would knock on the door, ring the bell, and then stand back 10 feet.
Yeah, that is on their protocols. They're supposed to step back now. There was an article written. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. It was posted on Facebook. Somebody down. I was down around you guys, somewhere around your township. That somebody did write an article. Very angry that we were knocking doors, and they posted a picture of one of our sales reps saying that it was in their little camera from their door, saying that our sales rep was even trying to stand back far enough so that we couldn't see their face. We're not telling our sales reps to stand back to a few cameras, but we are telling them to stand back because of COVID. So that was accurate that the person was standing back. So I don't know if any of you guys saw that, but I think that was just proof that the sales reps do stand back when they answer the door. We don't want to be threatening. We don't want a bad name for that.
If we had any reports of someone being rude or not wearing a mask or, being particularly aggressive, we would report that to you. And we would expect that person to be pulled. Yeah. And I would expect, honestly, if you guys hear of anything, we can, I'd be happy that we could give you guys maps on where each sales rep is. One of the townships we did, now this was way up north. This is North Whitehall. They asked for, I thought this was actually a good idea of them. I've never had a township do this, but they asked for a map of where each sales rep was going to be. And then if they ever did have a complaint, they knew exactly where, they would know exactly where that person was, and they could address it. And then I would say, if there is a sales rep that we have a problem with, I'll pull them, but you guys can pull their permit as well. And because that it is very important for us to, if we have somebody who's really breaking protocol or doing anything like that, they would lose their job. And I would say, and if you have somebody you're getting multiple complaints that somebody's pushy or something like that, I'd say pull their permit, and I'll pull them out.
Chief Yeager, do you have any thoughts on this?
Oh, I have no real thoughts other than we were just responding to complaints, and we forwarded them to, up the chain of command, and it wound up in the lapse and in the last meeting. So whatever you do is your prerogative.
And you do a background check before you issue these permits, correct?
Are you talking to me, Sue?
Yeah, they come and get the permits from you, and you do a background check, right?
No, what happens is now they bring their own permits and their own background checks. In other words, as part of their own permit, they bring their own background check.
What background check? The e-patch from the state police or something more?
That's basically it. I wasn't thrilled with Mr. Shipman's statement. However, when I was told that as you know, previously in the solicitation ordinance, I had tried to get a national background check because people are frequently from out of the area. And Mr. Shipman did tell me that these people are from other areas, but they stay in apartments or areas purchased or leased by Whitetail, and they utilize that address as their address of record for the background check. That's about the only real negative that I can say that I didn't like about the process. It had nothing to do with pulling the permits, but I found that out later.
And that is true. I'll tell you, we do have college students come in from different states. That is true. We do have some from Pennsylvania, but we had one this year from South Carolina, two from Tennessee. We always, kind of funny, we had 3 years ago, we had one come from Utah through some connections, and he has come back and brought friends each year for the last 3 years. So we have a handful of them from Utah. That is true that we do have, a lot of them are from other states. That is true. But we do, and yes, the background check that we have turned in, we have the e-patch background checks, and we can run them according, some townships require that they've been ran like within the last 5 days or something like that. We're happy to do that, but those were the ones that we turned in. That is true.
Well, can I propose, I'm sorry, Rachel, looks like you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to propose that if Chief Yeager is comfortable with this, and Sue and Rich, that that subject to providing the map of the field reps in the area. So if there is any issues from the residents, that we can identify that particular sales rep and rectify the issue at that point in time.
And the map will indicate which day and time frame that person will be walking.
Sure.
Yeah, we could provide like the time frame of when they go out. Yeah, I mean that, and yeah, I would provide. We can give you a map of the township and then kind of draw it out and show you guys. Label it according to each sales rep. And go ahead.
And for
You give
development,
them each a territory to cover, kind of?
Yeah, we usually give them like so many a couple neighborhoods that one is in charge of, and they'll just yeah.
Okay.
and for developments that have a no solicitation sign out front, you avoid those?
Yeah, unless we get permission from whoever's in charge of that. If it's an HOA or something like that, yeah, we avoid those.
Chief, are you okay with that?
Are you suggesting we repeal it?
I don't want to get involved in, like, my job is more legal. These complaints were coming from residents about the COVID, which is not really a legal situation. So from my perspective, I'm only concerned with the legal side and the licensing and permitting side.
I guess we can give it a chance, but if there's any more complaints, about being during COVID, we'll have to pull it again. A lot of people, a lot of elderly are very worried about that stuff. It's no joke to them.
I believe, Rich, we have a question from Donna.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm sorry. It's a comment from Barbara Ann Fav, who says, you don't need to drive place to place to have mailers to residents' homes. You use direct mail through the post office. Do not put paperwork in our mailboxes, as it can litter shed community and goes against the brand of trash collector. As the resident, I appreciate that we have our solicitation policies in East Whiteland, as there are many that come door to door without proper ID, walk over people's lawns, are rude, and don't take the time for an answer. Don't take no for an answer. And now with COVID-19, not wearing masks. Rich, ask him how many college students are East Whiteland residents. And then it says, employees should self-complete a health questionnaire as well as temperature checking, and they need to have COVID-19 officers per state regulations. Testing is not feasible. I had solicitors at my front door recently after last month's meeting that did not have masks on. That's it.
Okay.
When you hear a comment like that, Devin, how do you expect us to handle it?
No, the mask thing, I think that's hard. That's hard. The last time that we actually did in another township, we had the complaint that we weren't wearing a mask, and the interesting thing was that a neighbor provided their footage from their camera, and it actually turned out that they were wearing a mask. I don't know the case in this situation. I just know that our sales reps, it is very, very important. And if we know that they weren't wearing a mask, they'll be sent home. They'll lose their job. And so, I think, I don't know, it's kind of hard to argue with that without, I guess with, proof which way. But I guess just letting you guys know that it is very, very important to us. Wearing a mask is very, very important. And and that's where I go back to, I guess, if we have, and that's where we give you the areas. And if there's somebody saying that they didn't wear a mask and it really does look like this, the sales rep wasn't wearing a mask, then pull them pull the permit.
The only thing I can suggest then is give it a short leash. And if there's any complaints, then pull it again. Like the end of, this is September 9th, the end of this month. 2.5 weeks. Try it, get the map.
If we have any more complaints, then it's done again. I think that's fair. Give them a shot.
That's fine.
Okay.
So I guess, Rich, I'll let you make that motion with the details.
Okay, I guess we need to modify the position we took last meeting and to allow canvassing till the end of this month, provided that masks are worn, canvassers step away from the door, and before any canvassing goes into any neighborhood, that a notice be provided by a map to, who should get it? I guess police, Chris?
If you want to give it to us, we're probably the most available people.
Yeah, then you could even patrol. You know where to even patrol that day or that week.
We would be the one to get the complaint or the call, so
Right.
it would be helpful for us to have a map like that.
Okay. All right. That's the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys, and Chief Eager, I'll reach out to you if that's all right tomorrow morning.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for me before I go, I guess? We good?
No.
Thank you, Devin.
Thanks,
Okay,
Devin.
hey, thank you very much.
Okay, item E on our agenda would be, I guess, John Nagel.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Any
We
other questions
continue.
before I go, I guess? You good?
No.
Thank you, Devin.
Thanks,
Okay,
Devin.
hey, thank you very much.
I think the last time we presented information on the proposed sale was back in June, and that summary is listed on our website.
John Nagel.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Any other questions before I go, I guess?
I think we're getting feedback here.
Devin.
Okay, hey, thank you very much.
I think the last time we presented information on the proposed sale was back in June, and that summary is listed on our website.
John Nagel.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Any other questions before I go? Okay.
I think we need some assistance from AVT to fix the technical problem.
Mike, are you there?
I think did we fix it?
Try it again.
I'll try it again.
Yeah.
We've been briefing the community on the proposed sewer system sale or lease. The process continues to move forward. Our last briefing was in June, and the results of that are on the township's website. We're moving forward with the process, and tonight we're proposing to the board and to the public that a request for bids be released to the 4 potential suitors for the sewer system. 3 are purchase, and the other is a long-term lease. With us tonight, we have Tom Wyatt from Obermeyer and Scott Shear from PFM, who are handling the legal and the financial pieces to this transaction. So at this point, with the introduction, I'll ask Tom and Scott to take it from here.
All right. Well, thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. This is Scott with PFM. So Tom and I are going to tag team this this evening. There's some financial aspects of this presentation and some legal aspects. So it'll be a little bit of give and take. But maybe if you could go to the first slide, please. There we go. Thank you. So just to set the stage again, I know as John mentioned, a lot of this was already explained back a month or so ago, but just to kind of reacclimate ourselves with this exploration process to date. So basically started in spring of 2019, and you see from this kind of high level timeline where we've gone since that point in time, where we last spring and summer did our limited scope valuation to get a general sense of the value of the system. And then in December of 2019, released the request for qualifications to see which interested parties are out there. We received the responses in February of this year, shortlisted those 4 different ones that responded, conducted some very thorough and extensive management meetings back in the middle part of the summer, and a lot of additional due diligence has been done by the township solicitor, and the rest of the team exploring this possibility, and a lot of drafting of documents have occurred over, say, the past year and a half or so. So again, a tremendous amount of work has been done to date and up to current period. If you could go to the next slide to give a quick high-level overview of what's to come if the board decides to proceed. So this evening, again, just kind of an update on next steps. Our plan is to release the request for bid to those 4 shortlisted bidders here next week. We'd be in a position to receive responses in mid-October. We'd obviously then review the responses, and this is still a little bit fluid. It just kind of depends on the responses that we get, but probably have 1 or 2 public meetings in November, early December, and then the goal would be to then have the board consider a resolution or an action to proceed with a transaction if it makes sense for the township. So a lot is going to happen between now and then. Again, the RFP needs to go out. We need to see what kind of responses we get. If we get responses that are within the range that we're looking for, then we're going to continue. If we don't get them within the range, the process stops. And then, like I said, there will be some public opportunity in November for discussions and for questions, and then December would be board consideration. Depending on if we get that far, if we get bids that are acceptable, and depending on what kind of bidder that is, because the township has a very good mix of bidders in this exploration process, and so the transaction could close maybe at the end of 2021. It may take a considerable amount of time to go through the PUC process if that is if the winning bidder is a regulated entity by the PUC, or it could be much quicker depending on if it's a municipal authority that wins the transaction, or the concession lease or the asset lease agreement. So that's why we have to be determined there. A lot of variability with when closing would occur depending on the purchaser. Next slide, please. So really, again, this is now kind of all culminating in the release of this request for bid. The RFP itself is sort of just one component of the overall bid package. And as mentioned on the prior page, this will be sent to those 4 shortlisted remaining bidders on September 15th and due back around October 13th. The package that's being sent to those 4 bidders, it's actually the RFP itself, which is kind of the document that specifies how and when the bid needs to be submitted, in addition to the actual legal document that Tom will speak more to here in the next page or two, kind of highlighting the asset purchase agreement, which is relevant for those bidders that are interested in buying the system, And then there's the asset lease agreement that is for the party that's interested in a long-term lease of, of the agreement. And so, we just have a few bullet points there on the RFP and kind of what it is. I already mentioned it defines the terms of submitting the bid and awarding the bid and the timing of the bid consideration. For instance, the bid will remain valid. The bids that we receive will remain valid through December 15th of this year. That's the kind of the window of how long that will stay open for, unless there's circumstances that warrant a potential extension. Both the asset lease agreement and the asset purchase agreement are, again, those documents, sort of very robust documents that a lot of time has been put in from not only the township's team, but also the bidding teams to really refine those. And it really lays out all the business and legal provisions of the potential sale or the lease. And as John mentioned earlier on, there are 3 bidders interested in the asset purchase agreement and 1 bidder interested in the asset lease agreement. We are mandating a 3-year rate freeze that's built into the documents. So that will protect the ratepayers for a minimum of 3 years. And then depending on the overall best transaction, if one is selected, it could potentially even be longer, but a minimum of a 3-year rate freeze is mandated. We're also going to be asking for indicative non-binding rates so that we're able to compare and contrast the various proposals and provide this information to the township. And overall, as far as how the bids will be reviewed and considered by the township, will be based on the overall best package for the residents of the township, including both purchase price and rates, just to name a few. There's other qualitative aspects as well and quantitative aspects, but the goal here is to award it based on the best overall package. If, again, there's a package that's submitted that's within kind of the interest of the township. So that's sort of the highlight of the bid package, the RFP. Next slide, next 2 slides, Tom, if you want to kind of hit on some of the highlights of the asset purchase agreement and the asset lease agreement, please.
And if I can interject one question to you, just
Yes.
to clarify for residents. This is a process that a number of townships have been going through in the past year and a half. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Yes. Tom and I's firm respectively have been working on quite a few of these here over the past few years, especially in the southeastern part of the state. That's correct. Tom, do you want to hit on some of the highlights of on this current page? You're still on mute, Tom.
I apologize. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, board. Over the last several months, as Scott has mentioned, we've been working very hard with due diligence, the township staff and solicitor, and Scott have put together a great deal of information for the bidders to study and for the Obermeyer team to study to put together the asset purchase agreement. In a nutshell, while the asset purchase agreement is a very lengthy document, what it does is it identifies every single asset, every single agreement for the buyer, and sets out the purchase price, and then sets out the process for closing and for potential termination of the agreement. As Scott mentioned, there's a 3-year rate freeze in the APA. All of the existing agreements that East Whiteland enjoys will be transferred to the winning buyer, and the township will maintain its ownership of the stormwater assets, but sell all of its wastewater assets, its sanitary wastewater assets. And on an ongoing basis, it will control, as it's required, the 537 plan, and will coordinate with the winning bidder over time as that planning needs to be updated and modules need to be brought into place. And really the service will continue just under different ownership, but the asset will be completely out of the hands of East Whiteland.
Next
and
slide.
That concludes that slide. And on the ALA, same process preliminarily. A lot of hard work on due diligence, a lot of negotiation on drafting. The difference between the APA and the ALA is the asset lease agreement, as the name implies, is a very long-term lease. And so it'll feel a lot like a sale because the asset lease agreement requires the concessionaire or lessor to take complete control of the operations and maintenance and capital of the program. But they're also required after a term of 40 or 50 years to return the asset in good working order to East Whiteland. It'll nevertheless contain a 3-year rate freeze. The ALA has a lot more flexibility with respect to how rates can be shaped and formed. They're not governed by the Public Utility Commission. And nevertheless, the township, just as in the APA, will maintain control over the 537 planning process, but the lessor will take an active role. And then again, as I'd mentioned, at the end of the term, the lessor will give the system back in excellent working condition to the township. So those, in a nutshell, those are the two main agreements that will be attached to the RFB that Scott summarized earlier.
Great, thanks, Tom.
I don't know which of you would be better set to answer this question, but I think the thing the residents are going to be concerned about, certain of them, is that we have proposed and said we will do 3 different separate sewer installations in the township. It's my understanding that we had asked to have in the agreement that those projects would be completed within a certain amount of time. Is that been included?
Yeah, I'll take that, Scott, if you'd like.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it was a high priority in both agreements that they undertake those promised capital programs, and they will do so. And I think they have to do them all within 1 year of closing, but nevertheless, they will all occur as you've instructed and promised.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. So that's really the presentation we had for this evening. I mean, obviously there's a lot that's occurred in the past about 1.5 years, a tremendous amount of due diligence going through this exploration process. And like I said, now we're just at the point to send out the RFP to see kind of the real interest of the bidders and see what comes about. And depending on the results that we get, you know, there may be additional meetings and opportunities for discussion and presentations, or if the results are kind of not within the ballpark of the township, you know, at that point, the exploration process will stop. But we try to lay out kind of a general timeline of next steps here for you this evening.
And another,
Sue, with reference to your question, Sue, about the projects, there's not 3 that are required to be done by the buyers. There's only 2. There's one that we're doing ourselves.
Okay. All right. We'll get, when we have public meetings, we can reassure people about that. But, you know, we've promised different people these things will be done, and I want to make sure that they aren't, don't feel we're pulling the rug out from under them.
Yeah, right now, there's one that the township's currently trying to get approvals for now to do themselves. And the other 2 have to be done within a year from closing. So there's a time limit on when they have to complete it. We've shared with them the plans. They know what the projects are. They have all the details.
Thank you. That's reassuring.
and one of another local close township that's going through the same process is Willistown Township, right, Tom?
That's correct. They're also in this process.
Okay.
And so I think that concludes the presentation and update for tonight. I think Scott did a nice job of explaining that this is a very deliberative process. We're not rushing through this. We're kicking the tires and making sure that this is the right deal structure that is comfortable for the board and the public. And so there's still more to come, but this is the current milestone that we're asking the board to distribute the RFP sometime next week. I would ask if there's any questions from, ask Don if there's any questions from public comment.
No, there's not. Not at this time.
Okay. Board, any more questions?
No.
Okay. then I guess at this point in time, thanks guys for the presentation and the effort here.
Thank you.
Sue, if you would like to make a motion pertaining to the release of a request. Sue, are you on mute?
Yes.
All right, I'll have to say it again. I make a motion to authorize release of the request for bids for sale of the East Whiteland sewer system.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, on that.
Very good. Thank you.
Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the item is letter F. Steve Brown, I guess this would be you, pertaining to a appointment of the building code officer.
Thank you, Scott. With Steve Miller's departure, it's necessary that we appoint someone as what's known as the BCO, the building code official. That person has to have certification from the state. To get that certification, they have to take a course, and it's really an administrative and almost record keeping and legal type of a position. But in any event, one of our employees, Brian Willicombe, who does work in the codes division of that department, has the BCO certification, and staff recommends that the board appoint him to fill that position in the interim.
Okay, thank you.
When is or did Steve leave? What was his last day?
Steve's last day was August 28th.
Okay. Rich, would you like to entertain a motion?
Sure. Yeah, make a motion to appoint Brian Willicombe as building code official.
Do
I'll
I-
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, you've got the next one regarding fire marshal?
Right. For this same reason, Steve Miller held this position as well, which is, again, it's primarily a code official position where the fire marshal enforces the fire code and issues various permits. They also, if necessary, will conduct investigations into fires. And with Steve's departure, staff recommends that we appoint Matt Fink as the interim fire marshal, and as a deputy interim fire marshal, Jack Stewart. Matt and Jack, currently are employed in the fire division of the Department of Codes and Life Safety.
Okay. Sue, you're up.
Are both of these interim or just the Matt Fink one?
Both interim.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Matt Fink as interim fire marshal and Jack Stewart as interim deputy fire marshal.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, John Neild, if you can unmute yourself. I'll start off with this particular agenda item, is that really following a history of traffic complaints occurring within the Carroll Lanes and Summit Road neighborhood, we conducted extensive traffic studies. We conducted a survey. We had meetings with the residents, and the result will be some traffic calming speed humps that are going to be located up on the ridge on Carroll Lane, Summit, and Madeline. That's the short on that. I don't know if, John, if you want to add any more to that.
It's a combination of measures between line striping, signage, speed humps. through the whole neighborhood to try and reduce the speed and the problems that are coming from up there.
Right. Okay. Again, we went through an extensive review of this. Rich, could I ask if you have any questions, or Sue, if you have any questions on this?
Questions?
No questions other than thank you for spending as much time as you did working with the residents. That took quite a bit and it paid off.
You're welcome. So, Rich, if you could make a motion regarding the approval of the budget number?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve project budget $33,000 to implement traffic calming measures at Carroll Lane area.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we move over to zoning, item number 5. And I think this is kind of a short one, but Ted Locker, if you want to unmute and come on board and give us a quick summary here on this single property.
Certainly. So this is an R3 property on Old Lancaster Pike. They want to take one lot and create a subdivision to add a second lot.
Ted, could you talk a little bit louder or closer?
Sure. See if that works. Is that better?
A little better.
So they want to create a subdivision to create one additional lot in an R3 district. This is on Old Lancaster, right across from the driveway. And all the variances that they're asking for relate to steep and very steep slope. They meet the lot area, the setbacks, all the dimensional standards, and it really is a plan that basically seeks relief from steep and very steep slope.
Okay. Ted, from everything I could see, that this change would not really affect anyone below them at this point in time.
I think they've mitigated the stormwater. They've taken into effect some of the comments from Planning Commission and have improved the plan. And I believe it would be a simple subdivision.
Okay. Sue and Rich, do you have any questions for Ted?
No, I think our zoning hearing board is really competent on steep slope questions, so there's no reason for us to get involved.
Agreed.
Also agree on that. So there's no need to send a solicitor. Joe, you don't have to go.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Item number 6, planning and development. We'll bring in Zach Barner. If you can go through some of these at warp speed, we'd appreciate it.
I'll do my best. Let me just go ahead and admit some of the attendees here. We did have the applicant for the last one. I don't think that anything's needed of them at this point. Tom and Dan, thanks for being patient. I think you guys could probably log off if you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom, for being on there.
Give me 1 second while I get the room here. So I currently admitting 2 attorneys from Riley Riper, Holland Collin Greco. We have an engineer from Taylor Wiseman Taylor. We have Jerry O'Connor from MLP Ventures, and I believe that's it. Allison, are you expecting Aaron to attend?
He may not be on, so we can proceed, Zach. That's fine.
Okay, I think that's everyone then. Lou or Allison, I don't know if you want to kick it off here. We have item 6A is consideration by the board to render a decision on the Water Walk Hotel at Worthington. It's an amended master plan and preliminary final land development plan. That's LD 15-2019.
Sure. Thanks, Zach. I'll take that one. Good evening, everyone. Allison Zaro on behalf of Waterwalk RE Development Services, LLC. The board's seen this plan several times, both through the conditional use process and the overall land development plan. As the board may recall, the site is part of the Uptown Worthington development, and it is on the property boundary / township boundary line with Vanguard's property and Tredyffrin Township. Waterwalk is proposing a Oakwood branded extended stay hotel. We have received several review letters from the township consultants, and all of the remaining comments will comply at this point. We also have received a draft of a possible resolution with conditions, and those conditions are acceptable to the applicant. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
I've seen this so many times, I just can't think of a question.
That's fine.
Started before COVID.
Yeah,
Yes.
way before.
Yes. Our landscape review letter actually goes back to February 6th, 2020, and it was clean with no further comments at that time. So
I guess the only question is, assuming we pass it tonight, when do you think you'd start working on it? Do you know?
that is a good question. I think we are still waiting for one permit, and without my client being on the phone right now, I don't 100% know the answer. I apologize, but I
That's
think
okay. It's just a question. It's all right. Doesn't matter. All right.
All right.
Now, ordinarily, the board's action would be to authorize me to draft a resolution. But because you've seen this project so much and you know so much about it, the resolution is already drafted. And you could actually take action to pass the resolution tonight.
That's fine.
That's fine
I'm
with
good
me.
with that, yeah.
All right. Well, Rich, you want to entertain that motion?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for Water Walk, say that 3 times,
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Hotel at Worthington.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
thank you very much.
Aren't you glad you waited around all night for that?
Yep.
Good luck with it.
It was worth it. Thank you.
Okay.
And Allison, we need a signed resolution.
Yes. Why don't we talk about how we get that done logistically tomorrow, since my client is not local. We'll figure that out. I'll talk to Zach.
And we have FedEx.
Yes, that's I just want to verify where it should go. Everybody, is in different places with COVID, but I'll verify that tomorrow.
We also have the option to do it digitally, via DocuSign or all that. So we have a couple options we can weigh out tomorrow, Allison.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I guess with that, I'm gonna, Lou, and I guess there's some overlap with one of the later agenda items. You guys mind if I put you back in the waiting room just momentarily? Lou, I believe you're still.
Zach, can you hear me?
I can. Yep.
Yeah, I'm doing the Worthington presentation. So is that up next?
That technically not listed next, but I think we could probably just. I mean, if the board is inclined to go out of order, I don't think there's.
I don't care if we swap them out. Sure.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll get that done.
Why don't I go
Okay.
ahead and admit Frank Tavani, the traffic engineer. I believe he'd be the only person not already in.
I don't know, is Jerry O'Connor on?
I believe Jerry came in previously, yeah.
And Mark Thompson, our civil engineer.
Yep, both appear to be on, yep.
Good, okay. I can get started then. We're not asking for any action by the board tonight on Worthington. This is just a, to bring you up to date with where we've been. We will be asking for a decision in October. So, you know, every time I've gotten on from Worthington over the past 15 years, the plan seems to get slimmed down with each amendment. And this is no exception. The plan that you have in front of you for consideration, which has been recommended unanimously by the Planning Commission, actually does a few things. Right now, there's an approved theater on the property. It's 16 screens and 1,650 seats. We're reducing the size of that theater to 12 screens and 1,157 seats. So that's one change. Still a theater, still interested, believe it or not, throughout COVID, but it's at a reduced size. The approved plan also has a medical office building on it, which is 5 stories. That's being reduced in size to a 3-story building. The tenant that was interested pre-COVID put that project on hold over the summer, and now there is interest in reoccupying at least 2 stories of that building by the same tenant. We can't disclose the name, but we're encouraged that there is activity and there is still interest. The downsizing of that building involves putting a parking area where we once had another building approved. Well, we currently have another building approved. So the parking area for the proposed MOB, the medical office building, is being constructed where previously there was a building identified as R12 that's being removed from the project. So those are the changes with the amended master plan.
Can you point out which building that is? I don't know what building he's talking about.
Is this the approved plan, Zach?
This is the currently proposed plan. I can flip over to the previously approved plan just to orient. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know where R12 is, so we're going to find out together.
So this is what's going in now?
Well, that's what's approved now. Building
Okay.
R12 is approved, but it's going to disappear with the amended plan. It's going to become parking for the medical office building.
So
Mark,
R12 is, where's R12?
Mark, why don't you chime in here and take them through the direction here where that building is?
Sure. Sure. Yeah, R12, right. Zach is highlighting that now. It's right above Steel and National Avenue. So that building is getting replaced with a parking lot that will service the new medical office building, as Lou said.
And where's that medical office building going to be?
Just to the right.
To the right of that, where R6 is now.
Okay. So it's replacing retail and hotel.
And hotel, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I see. I see. Okay.
The review letters that came from the township consultants were clean. They've been very clean since May. But like everything else with COVID, everything got delayed over the summer. So, you know, we didn't see any comments in these review letters that caused us great agita. We spent considerable time going back through traffic and prior traffic expectations and prior traffic controls. And frankly, since the site has gotten much smaller, a lot of the original traffic conditions are still in force. They're still being followed. We're still monitoring traffic flows, and we will continue to do that. But it's, like I said earlier, the traffic improvements that were installed for Worthington many, many years ago envisioned a site probably a third more dense than what you're seeing now.
And Lou, this is Scott.
Yes.
With the downsizing of a lot of that area over there, do you really need a parking area in that location?
I'll leave that up to Mark too. Scott, I imagine most of it's ordinance mandated. Some of it may be tenant requirements. The MOBs, medical office buildings, generate a lot of parking need. They're a high park generator. So my uneducated answer would be yes, we need it, or we wouldn't be building it. Mark, I'll leave that up to you. Is that ordinance compliance that we're following there?
Well, we're the site as a whole complies with the ordinance. And part of what we did by eliminating a lot of the commercial and retail space, or office and retail space, was we did eliminate the need for parking garages on site. So those are all going to be surface parking lots now, where on the previous plan they were parking garages. The medical office building did require 100 and some odd spaces that they wanted adjacent to their building, so they would sign the lease, and that's what we came up with.
I can see why you wouldn't want people with illnesses having to walk a long way, and I'm really glad we're not going to have parking garages. That's good. I'm amazed you got a movie theater.
Yeah, so are we. I mean, when you read the newspapers and all of them are pulling back, we seem to have found the one that's still willing to hang in there. So
Great.
Hopefully this time's a charm.
I hope so. Okay, good.
Okay. So we just wanted to give you a preview. If you so instruct Joe to prepare the appropriate resolution, I'm sure we'll be working with him over the next 30 days on what that'll look like when we come back before you in October.
Okay.
All right. No more questions from me. Rich, Sue, you okay?
No questions at all. Looks good.
All right, Sue, I guess you.
My turn. All right. I make a motion to authorize our solicitor to draft a resolution for LD 04-2020 for Uptown Worthington, amended master plan and preliminary final development plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lou.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sticking around, Lou. So Zach, we're gonna go back on B1I.
Yes, sir. Let me just stop sharing my screen for one moment so I can pull up the other plan. I think I may have closed it out by accident. So in the meantime, I'm going to admit Vic Kelly and Scott Risbin. Vic is the engineer for the applicant and Scott is the applicant. All right, there's Vic. Vic and Scott looks like he's logged in here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the screen share just so everyone's. Okay. So with that, Vic, I guess if you want to just kind of take over, I can introduce it, but you're probably better equipped to give your update than I am. Vic, I think you're on mute, actually.
Am I?
We can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. Sorry. I thought I had unmuted, but it's a double mute, I guess. Similar to Lou's, we started this project a while back. We've been before the board a number of times for variance relief, number one, for the use.
We can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Uh-oh, we're repeating again.
A double mute.
How about everybody mute?
Similar to Lou's, we started this project a while back. We've been before the board a number of times for variance relief, number one, for the use.
You may need a reset by.
I think someone may have a live stream up in the background. That may be what's coming through. Because it's on a delay.
I think we're good now.
Need a reset by. I think someone may have a live stream up in the background. That may be what's coming through.
I guess not.
It's on a delay.
If AVT's on, Mike, if you could fix that technical problem.
I think we're good
All right, somehow I think I have a second video on, which I'm not sure how to turn off here.
I guess not. If AVT's on, Mike, if you could fix that.
We may have lost Vic on that. I'm thinking he might have closed the wrong window and trying to close the live stream. So I'll let him back in when he pops in. There he is. I think what's happening is we often ask people to follow along via the live stream so they know more or less when they'll be up, and sometimes the window may just get left open.
All right, am I live?
Yep, sounds like we're good to go now.
Yeah, that was some sort of delay there. Anyway, I think similar to Lou's project, we started this a year plus ago, and we had been before the board for a couple of variances. The first one for a use variance to allow the daycare, and a second for achieving the site distance that we needed to. We needed to grade the steep slopes that were along the frontage, actually in the township's property on Church Road. We do have the most current consultants review letters dated August 18th from Arrow and August 19th from McMahon. And generally those are all will comply items. And there are a number of waivers that I believe Arrow supports. And we're looking for I guess a resolution to draft a motion to draft the resolution for approval, essentially complying with those items, unless there are any questions that anyone has.
I just, how big are those two retaining walls on the top side on the?
They're two small walls, about 3 feet or so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
it's just
too
a
big.
terrace. It's really a terrace landscape into the basin there.
Okay, all right. And you've got all the traffic things about where that driveway comes out on the curve, right?
We've had our traffic consultant go through that with Chris Williams of McMahon to find the best location. We've identified how we want to stripe the shoulder on the west side of Church Road to best allow for pass through and that sort of thing.
I think the striping is still going to require just a little bit of coordination with McMahon's office. It's been a little more difficult to actually sit down and mark up a plan together, but the comments from the McMahon letter will be incorporated into the plan prior to recording and all of that. So still some tweaking there, but otherwise,
right,
the gist of it is reflected on the plan.
And we're going to be cutting down the slope as you come, whatever direction that is, east on Church Road. You're going to cut that slope out so you can see that entranceway. Is that what's happening?
That's exactly what's happening. And actually, I think it'll help improve the existing entrance that's up at Hoover Financial now. So I think it'll be better for everybody as far as being able to see around that curve. Now it's overgrown a little bit and it's right up fairly close to the edge of the road. So
are we adding any shoulder in there, or is it widening at all?
There will be a little shoulder, not any pave widening, but there will be a graded shoulder, which will be maintained as lawn. So you still will be able to see that. There's already I think about a 3 to 4 foot shoulder there. Zach, I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, I don't have the, I can pull up the grading plan, but.
No, that's
there
all
may
right.
be some space.
Just talk to me. You don't have to show me pictures. It's okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think I've seen as much of this as I saw at the water walk, so.
One of the questions I've had is the traffic flow, at pickup and drop off time. What improvements are they doing as they exit and head east towards 401 at that light?
Well, there's a roughly $100,000 traffic impact fee that's going to be paid. So if there are timing issues and things like that, I'm sure that could be applied to improving it through that fashion. I know our traffic consultant, Andy Heinrich, had worked through with Chris Williams, and they felt that there was not going to be an impact at this time, but that was something that they could monitor going forward.
Okay, because I have some concerns about that, but as long as they're going to be able to monitor it.
Yeah, I don't think this specific development would warrant any sort of modifications to the timing or the actual signal infrastructure there. That would have been called out by McMahon very early on. The focus of their review really has been around the access and some of the normal details that are sorted out, ramp details, things of that nature.
And what was the outcome of your discussion with the folks at the Historical Commission in terms of being within 200 feet of the other historical building?
It was primarily coloring of how we're going to make the exterior of the building. We're going to try to match some of the coloring of
Wrong one.
Of the Hoover Financial Planning building. There's the small historic building out front, but then they also have the large addition that they had done in the back, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago or so. So we were going to match more of the tans and I think it was tan and white, maybe with some black trim, that sort of thing.
Okay. And we would roll any of the recommendations from the Historical Commission. He's right. It's most of the color of the building, the color of the roof, and the locations of the shutters that they were focused on, but they were okay with making a recommendation subject to those conditions.
Yeah, the picture had shutters. It looked a little more old fashioned, so that's nice. That's fine.
Yeah, I apologize. I intended to bring that up, but I think I closed it out
That's
accidentally.
okay. We saw it. All right.
The one item I would just point out is that the applicant is seeking a waiver to not construct sidewalk along their immediate frontage, but more or less in exchange to construct a sidewalk, a paved path on the opposite side of the road that would connect two existing sidewalk stubs around our township basin. This sort of flows into two existing sidewalks within the Brunarian community. So again, given the limited connectivity and really not much that a sidewalk along their frontage would accomplish, we felt that this would be a better improvement for the surrounding area.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a nice long sidewalk. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Any more thoughts, comments?
Nope.
All right, then I believe I'm lost here. Well, it's moving on. I think it's Rich. I think it's your.
I think it's Rich's turn.
Yeah, I think it's Rich.
Okay. So we're ready to authorize the resolution on this, right?
That's correct.
Draft resolution. Okay, make a motion to authorize solicitor draft resolution for Ducklings Early Learning Center preliminary final land development plan, including granting the requested waivers in the resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thanks, Vic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Do we want to slide into the extension of time on this, Zach?
Sure. Just gonna stop my screen share there. We have 3 extensions for the board to consider. One for this application to carry it into next month where the board can consider approval. Same with Uptown Worthington, having authorized the staff and the solicitor to draft a resolution, they could be in position to be acted on next month. The third item is for a project on Backton Hill Road. It's an amended plan. Currently, they're working through some sewer issues. As you know, there's not currently sewer in that area. So they're kind of working through how to work that from a plan approval standpoint. And so they've authorized an extension through the end of the year at this point. It may ultimately be that they amend the plan to show a future connection while showing an on-site connection facility, or they may grant an indefinite extension until sewer is available. So probably more information than you're looking for, but they're just seeking an extension to keep this project moving.
Okay. Sue, you want to package those three and we can vote on them?
We do all three together?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
All right, I make a motion to extend the time to render a decision on the following three applications. Ducklings Early Learning Center to October 30th, 2020. Uptown Worthington to October 30th, 2020. And 19 Backton Hill Road to December 31st, 2020.
Do I have a second, Rich?
Second, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So Zach, I understand D1 has been tabled at this point, so we'll move on to number 2.
That's correct. I did speak with the applicant earlier that we will be tabling that until next month. The second one there is to consider assignment and assumption agreement for 6 Great Valley Parkway in order to release the performance bond from the previous owner, which was the Liberty Property Trust, and replace with a new letter of credit from the new owner, which is Philadelphia Suburban Development Corporation. Essentially, this new entity has purchased the property and the plan and will be looking to build that. In order to do that, they need to be sort of swapped out or switched into the financial security for the site. Some of the improvements have already been underway. This is just essentially an agreement to take one entity out of its obligations and swap in this new owner.
Okay.
This is the empty lot at the corner of 29 and what is it, Liberty Parkway?
That's correct. Yep. Some of the improvements were already made. They demolished the building, removed the turn lane, and did some minor things.
Right.
But the project itself, the construction hasn't moved forward. I understand that Philadelphia Suburban will be looking to move that project forward in the next year or so.
Next, what, year or so?
Not an immediate timeline, but they do intend to build that.
Okay.
Okay, Rich, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the assignment assumption agreement for 6 Great Valley Parkway to allow a new letter of credit for the new owner, Philadelphia Suburban Development Corp.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next on the agenda, I'll just defer to Donna. Do we have any public comments for items not identified or talked about in the agenda so far?
Well, we have a comment. Yes, we have a comment actually from Barbara Ann about the Caroline. It came in after you had discussed it, but she says with COVID-19 and the work from home directive from the governor, is the cut through and speeding traffic still as much of an issue on Caroline?
I believe there are still issues, not as prevalent as previous, but there are still issues, yes. Okay.
There's one more I think Steve's going to read. Are you there, Steve?
I'm here. Yeah, this actually is a long comment, and I've been advised that the person who sent it is going to be okay with the summary. This is from Carla Z, and so I'll do my best to summarize this. She starts on the subject of Knickerbocker and says, while she is not trying to impede the owners of the property from selling or the developer from developing, this is a case where both the sellers and developer are local, and I think this presents a unique opportunity that could be more positive and a better plan than currently presented. But I do think another residential development is a bad idea. I think a warehouse industrial use or even adding some offices is a better idea. With the non-residential use, more of the land can be left as open space, and we're not adding more and more permanent residents to this township. With a warehouse and industrial office use, you can still have amenities like walking trails. A warehouse that would be built here, or warehouses, would provide lots of jobs, and this would help keep residential taxes down. We don't need more townhouses and carriage houses and apartments. We need different levels of commerce. With the residential development, the township will get a short-term influx of ratables, but is it enough to cover the long-term care and costs of the roads, the residents, the infrastructure? Also have to consider the Great Valley School District. The school district is shortly, if not already, going to be completely unable to handle more students and families. The COVID pandemic has created an opportunity in that this is a residential seller's market. People are rushing to get out of cities and move to the suburbs, but this isn't going to last forever. And what happens to the overabundance of certain types of housing then? We are also existing in an erratic and questionable economy. What is actually sustainable is a question. There is no affordable housing, and affordable housing is not a bad word. She goes on to say what she believes affordable housing is. It benefits senior citizens, benefits young families, single moms, those in lower socioeconomic levels will have an alternative. Municipalities to our east and west will require affordable housing units to be part of new developments as a condition of approval. Also, we need to look at the bigger picture of infrastructure stresses and stresses to first responders. Also, we have to consider the ability of our first responders' vehicles, for example, fire trucks, to get around in these developments. This township is constantly growing. This is shifting subjects somewhat, and she believes that because of this growth, we should consider going to 5 supervisors. I don't think 3 can adequately represent the township. She believes that people in the township don't get equal representation from their elected officials because there's only 3, and that 3 people cannot adequately serve all the residents. She closes by suggesting that the people that do serve in elected positions need to consider why they ran for office, why did you move here, and are you helping to preserve the quality of life that drew you here by your decisions, or are you allowing change to come at such a pace that gets lost in translation somehow? And that, again, is a summary of a lengthy public comment email.
Okay, thanks, Steve, for summarizing that.
I have another one. It's also from Barbara Ann Fav, and it says, it's 4 questions. When will Uptown Worthington be done? And please don't use COVID-19 as an excuse. There have been so many resolutions and amendments, but the site is still really empty and missing a lot of amenities. And the community was pitched years back. It seems like other town centers in our overall area have been planned, built, occupied, and used by residents so much faster than this project. Residents would like to see more realistic timeframes to completion. Second comment is, with COVID-19 and the work from home directive, actually, I've already actually said this, but I'll read it again. Is the cut through and speeding traffic still as much of an issue? I hope a lot of people working from home has helped these residents. 3 months back, there was so much heated discussion and meetings with residents in East Goshen around traffic issues and possible resolutions around King Road and 352. Wasn't there a potential that PennDOT may do what they wanted to do there? Is that still the case? Are there any updates? And 4th, so you are aware, for those of us on a laptop watching the presentation, even while in full screen, the agenda and PDFs of maps are a bit small. Please consider making these bigger, and perhaps the video of attendees a bit smaller. And that concludes the comment section.
I can address one of the two questions that PennDOT at this point in time is not pursuing anything at 352 and King, the last that we heard. Again, if you recall, that is not that is controlled by PennDOT, not the
Yeah.
town.
And as far as the timing on when Uptown Worthington will be completed, no one knows for sure. I think the thing that really derailed Uptown Worthington was the Valley Forge, the village at Valley Forge, with literally thousands of apartment units, retail, their own Wegmans there, REI. I think that took a lot of tenants that were otherwise planning to come to Uptown Worthington, and it takes a long time for the market to catch up again.
Okay. Thank you, Rich. Finally on the agenda is the number 8, the consent agenda piece. And what I will do is I will ask for comments on each one, but we will vote in aggregate on everything unless there's something that is not votable for with the rest of the items. So under 8A, approve the meeting minutes from August 12th, 2020. Any comments from Sue or Rich on that?
No.
Okay. Item B is to ratify payments of bills in the amount of $1,971,720.74 for August 2020. Item C is the treasurer's report as of July 31st, 2020. John Nagel, anything important there that you want to point out?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Scott, we're going to defer the presentation and request for acceptance of that till the October meeting. I also want to take this as an opportunity to thank Kathy Kloponis. Kathy's leaving East Whiteland for a better opportunity with Westchester University. During her time here, she's helped get several budgets approved, most importantly, one with a 5-year financial plan that I think has already benefited the township and will benefit the township for years to come. And then on the financial reporting side, has helped us achieve and continue to sustain recognition in financial reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States. So congrats and thanks to Kathy for all her work over the years here.
We'll miss you, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thanks, John, Sue, Rich, and Scott. I enjoyed working with you all, and I'm going to miss you. Thank you. I wish you guys all the best.
You can always tune in to future meetings just for fun.
I know, I think I will. I look forward to seeing all the future accomplishments. You guys are doing a lot. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Kathy. Good luck going forward.
Thank you, Scott.
All right. 8D on the consent agenda, we've got John Neal. I know last Friday, I think you got this award for the heating oil and diesel fuel bids.
Yes, we're recommending Riley had the low price for the diesel fuel and the home heating oil. So we're recommending to accept their bid.
Okay.
John has the next one too.
Right. We have the proposal from Ryan's Plumbing and Heating for Battle of the Clouds bathroom upgrades, which includes new sinks, toilets, and some associated plumbing.
Great.
All right. Sounds good there. And F, approve the 2021 minimum municipal obligations under Pension Act 205.
Yeah, I'll take this one, but Kathy had the lion's share of the work regarding this. As you may recall, our actuaries, Conrad Siegel, had recommended some changes to the way that we account and plan for our pension funding. This minimum municipal obligation is an annual contribution by the employer to the township's pension plans. We have 3 primary plans, one for police, one for fire, and one for non-uniform. There are also a couple of smaller plans that are also included under this resolution that we're asking you to pass this evening. But with the changes that the actuaries recommended, there are life expectancy changes. We're all living longer, so that's a good thing, but we're having to pay for that because there's benefits, more benefits paid over time. The rate of return has been struggling. Right now it's very volatile, but rates of return on pension plans in general, and we adopted a very wise policy of asset smoothing, which basically takes out the highs and lows of market swings. So with that, our minimum obligation for 2021 goes from $1.1 million this year to $1 million, almost $1,350,000. So that was expected as a result of adopting these enhancements that were recommended by the actuary, but we're required by law to have the board approve these MMOs every September and make them a part of next year's budget.
So these amounts, these will be paid in the beginning of 2021.
What we actually, not in the beginning, but what we do is to get, it's an investment requirement. So what we do to try to get the best out of the market and not be captive to the highs and lows is we do dollar cost averaging. So we take a quarter of our obligation each calendar quarter and we invest it in the market. So hopefully that evens out the highs and lows. We actually did pretty well the last quarter. We talked about that the last trustees meeting, that it helped us in the plan's performance by doing it this way. So this for a long time ago from one of my mentors, and so I've carried that forward through today. So
at what point will we know the effect, if any, of the market swings that have occurred this year? They occurred during the year, not a year end. Does that help us?
It really happens as of the end of the year. That's the unfortunate thing about that. And that's one of the things I did not mention, that for the 1/1/2019 valuation, which was the most recent, the market dipped right before the end of the year, which hurt us for 2 years. So the next valuation will be as of 1/1/2021, which is right around the corner, believe it or not. So hopefully these improvements, these gains continue through the end of the year and we can grab back some of those market gains that we lost in 19.
Yes, that's how.
And one thing to point out is we get our state aid in September of every year. So,
Right.
You know, the way that this township does it quarterly is a little bit unique. Not all townships do it that way. Sometimes they wait till September when the state aid comes in and then fund the MMO. So this is much more beneficial.
The state funds the majority of the employer obligation to the plan. So we're very fortunate, as many municipalities in Pennsylvania are, that we can have the state underrate most of our pension obligation.
What's the source of their funding for that? Is it independent of the state general funds?
Yes, it's, I believe it's a tax on companies that are domiciled outside of Pennsylvania,
Insurance companies, right, John?
insurance companies.
Right, okay.
And that's stayed, I think Kathy may know this better, but I think it's stayed relatively stable for a long time.
It
Should.
has.
Yeah, it should. Insurance is always going to be there.
Yeah, we're planning on it. Can't live with it, can't live without it.
That's right. Okay.
Okay.
So we're asking for a motion or a resolution to approve all of the MMOs for 2021.
We'll do it with part of the consent.
Right. Yeah, there's 5 different pension plans, so I'd advise you to just do it as a consent item, so we don't have to do this 5 times.
Sure.
Okay. And then the final item on the consent agenda is approve $1,200 from.
Let me adjust that. I misspoke, and John Neal corrected me on it. It's actually to evaluate the current condition of the Warren Avenue Bridge, not to develop a cost to replace. We're trying to gauge the structural integrity of the bridge.
Okay, so I'll call it approve. Proposal for $1,200 from Aero for an evaluation on the structural integrity of the Warren Avenue Bridge.
Where is that? That's right after you make a left turn off of Old Lancaster Road, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that
It's
little
right
bit
at the
in the ravine there, yeah.
Okay. Hope that stays open. Okay.
So,
You always want to plan a few years ahead,
Oh, sure. No doubt about it.
so you're not caught with your, you know what.
Yeah.
so I think, Rich, you might have it, and I'll try to help you with some of the changes that we just kind of went through here.
Did we?
All
Well,
he has to say is approve the consent agenda.
Yeah. Approve. I make a motion to approve this. Approve the consent agenda as read, as adjusted.
including the removal of item C. Just to point that out. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any other business? I don't believe so. Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good night,
you.
all.
Thanks.
Bye, Kathy.